New York's mayor just did what FIFA refused to do. Imagine you live in New York City, one of the most football-passionate cities in America, a place where every major international community is represented. Senegalese fans, Jamaican fans, Mexican fans, Ecuadorian fans, people who grew up watching the World Cup like a religion. And the World Cup, the actual World Cup, is coming to your backyard. MetLife Stadium, just across the river in New Jersey, is hosting 8 matches this summer, including the final. And then you look at the ticket prices. The cheapest seat available on FIFA's official resale platform for a group stage match at MetLife is $553. That's for a group game. A round of 16 tickets starts higher. And the World Cup final, the match happening 20 minutes from Manhattan, will cost you $2,030 for the cheapest seat in the stadium. Lower bowl tickets run $6,370. Hospitality packages exceed $10,000. And if you somehow found a way to afford any of that, you'd then need to buy a train ticket to actually get there. $150, round trip, just for the train. This is the World Cup in New York in 2026, the game that belongs to everyone, priced for almost no one. And then, on May 21st, something happened that nobody expected. The mayor of New York City went to a bar in Harlem's Little Senegal neighborhood, stood next to American national team star Timothy Weah, and announced that he had personally negotiated with FIFA president Gianni Infantino to make 1,000 World Cup tickets available to New Yorkers for $50 each. $50, including free round-trip bus transport to MetLife Stadium and back. And the football world stopped and paid attention. Because this story is about more than 1,000 tickets. This story is about a city, a mayor, and a moment that exposed the gap between what the World Cup is supposed to be and what FIFA turned it into. And it raises a question that's going to follow this tournament all the way to July 19th. If one mayor of one city could negotiate $50 tickets by picking up the phone and calling FIFA, what exactly has FIFA been doing for the past 3 years? Let's go through the full story, because the details here are extraordinary. The mayor in question is Zoran Mamdani, who took office in January of this year. Before he was mayor, while he was still a candidate, he was already running a public campaign against FIFA's ticket pricing. He launched a petition called Game Over Greed. He called out the dynamic pricing model FIFA was using. He said publicly and on the record that the biggest sporting event in the world was happening in New York's backyard, and that most New Yorkers would be priced out of watching it live. He called for FIFA to end dynamic pricing, cap resale prices, and allocate 15% of tickets to local residents. He did not get all of that. FIFA did not end dynamic pricing, FIFA did not cap resale prices. But what Mamdani did get, through months of direct negotiation with the NYNJ host committee, and ultimately with Infantino himself, was 1,000 tickets, $50 each, 7 matches, free buses both ways, non-transferable, anti-scalping measures built in, and every ticket handed directly to the winner at the bus terminal on game day, so it cannot be resold. It is a small number. 1,000 tickets across 8 million residents is the kind of ratio that requires a lottery just to manage the application process. And indeed, the city announced that the lottery opens on Monday, May 25th at 10 in the morning. New Yorkers can enter once per day over 6 days with a daily cap of 50,000 entries. Winners are notified on June 3rd, and each winner can purchase up to 2 tickets. The program covers the 5 group stage matches and 2 knockout round matches played at MetLife. But here's why the number doesn't matter as much as the act. What Mamdani demonstrated by standing in a Harlem bar with Timothy Weah in one of the city's most football-passionate immigrant communities is that the pricing problem was a choice. FIFA made a choice to charge what the market would bear, and when a local elected official pushed back hard enough, held their ground publicly enough, and negotiated directly at the highest level, FIFA moved, just slightly, just enough to hand over 1,000 seats at a price that a working New Yorker could actually consider. Think about that for a moment. The cheapest ticket currently available on FIFA's official resale platform across all World Cup group stage games is $553. Final tickets have been listed as high as $38,000. In April of this year, one resale listing for a final ticket appeared at $2.3 million. That number exists. Someone listed a World Cup final ticket for $2.3 million. And FIFA's response to all of this? The organization has defended its model consistently. FIFA President Infantino described demand for this tournament as the equivalent of 1,000 years of World Cups at once. He said the organization was applying market rates. He said the dynamic pricing system was designed to give fans more options, not fewer. FIFA does collect a 15% commission on both the buying and selling side of every transaction on its official resale platform. That means every time a ticket changes hands at an inflated price, FIFA takes a cut of both ends of the trade. FIFA introduced what they called a supporter entry tier, $60 tickets allocated through national football federations for all 104 matches, including the final. That sounds like progress, but the number of those tickets available was never clearly specified, and fan organizations reported that securing them through federations was complicated, inconsistent, and in some cases impossible for ordinary fans without the right connections. Football Supporters Europe, which represents fan groups across the continent, filed a formal complaint with the European Commission in March, accusing FIFA of abusing its dominant market position through its pricing structure. U.S. congressional representatives wrote to FIFA asking the organization to make the World Cup more financially accessible. And New Jersey's governor had already confirmed on the record that FIFA contributed $0 to the $48 million cost of transporting fans from New York City to MetLife Stadium, the cost that created the $150 round-trip train ticket in the first place. All of that is the context in which Mamdani's $50 announcement landed, and it landed hard. Here's the interesting part. The announcement didn't just generate coverage in football media, it became a national story. It ran on CNN, Al Jazeera, CBS News, Fox 5 New York, and dozens of outlets that don't normally cover FIFA ticket pricing as a main story. Because what Mamdani had done wasn't really a sports story. It was a story about a city fighting for its working people. He framed it that way deliberately. He made that explicit standing in Little Senegal, surrounded by fans who came from countries where following football isn't just entertainment, it's identity. He said, "We are making sure that working people will not be priced out of the game they helped to create." He quipped that $50 represented 5 lattes in New York. He said it extends to making it possible for every New Yorker to take part in the things that make us human. Timothy Weah, the U.S. MNT forward and Brooklyn native who was standing next to him, said, "Access is super important. As a kid, my dream was to watch the game. Everyone deserves that chance." The optics of that moment, a Brooklyn-born professional footballer, the son of former World Player of the Year George Weah, standing in a Senegalese community in Harlem and talking about access to the World Cup, were not accidental. Mamdani knows exactly how to frame a story. And the story he was telling was this: the World Cup belongs to people like this, in places like this, and we are not going to let it pass through our city without them. Now, the practical reality. 1,000 tickets for 8 million people is not a solution to the pricing crisis. It is a gesture, a meaningful gesture, and a harder-fought one than it appears, because Mamdani was negotiating against an organization that had no obligation to move, and whose default position was to charge whatever the market would support. He moved them. That matters. But it doesn't solve the underlying problem. The underlying problem is structural. FIFA's ticketing model for 2026 was built on dynamic pricing. Prices that fluctuate based on demand, with no hard cap on how high they can go. In markets like the United States, where no law prevents secondary ticket prices from rising without limit, and where FIFA's own resale platform takes fees from both sides of every transaction, the price ceiling is effectively set by whatever the wealthiest buyers in the world are willing to pay. And the wealthiest buyers in the world are willing to pay a great deal. The 1994 World Cup, the last time the United States hosted, remains the all-time attendance record holder with 3.5 million spectators. Tickets then cost between $35 and $60 for group stage matches. Even adjusting for inflation, that's between $75 and $125 in today's money. The cheapest group stage tickets for 2026 at MetLife are 4 to 5 times that. The most expensive are in a different universe entirely. What's changed isn't just inflation. What's changed is the commercial logic FIFA applies to the World Cup. The tournament is no longer primarily designed as a popular, accessible sporting event. It's designed as a revenue-maximizing entertainment product, and those two things are not the same. One of them builds football, the other extracts from it. And that's the tension this story sits inside, because Mamdani's $50 tickets, all 1,000 of them, are a small temporary patch on a structural problem that FIFA has not indicated any desire to fix for 2026. The Secretary General acknowledged that the ticketing approach would be reviewed for the 2030 tournament. For 2026, the prices are what they are. But here's what Mamdani's move does that matters beyond those 1,000 tickets. It sets a precedent. It shows other host cities, other mayors, other governors, that it is possible to negotiate directly with FIFA and win something, however small, for local fans. If mayors in Los Angeles, Dallas, Boston, Kansas City, and the other host cities were watching this announcement, and they almost certainly were, some of them may now be asking their own teams whether a similar deal is possible. And it puts FIFA in a position they don't particularly enjoy, because the more this story circulates, the more people see the contrast between $50 for a New Yorker and $5,000 for anyone else trying to get into the same stadium, the more uncomfortable it becomes for an organization that insists it is making the World Cup available to everyone. FIFA's slogan for 2026 is "Football unites the world." If the world the slogan is talking about is the world that can afford a $500 group stage ticket and $150 train ride, then it's a smaller world than football imagines itself to represent. Mamdani also announced something else alongside the lottery tickets. He canceled what had originally been planned as a paid fan festival, a FIFA-organized event that would itself have cost money to attend, and replaced it with free fan fests across all 5 boroughs of New York City. Free, open to everyone, every borough, so that New Yorkers who don't win the lottery and can't afford a ticket can still be part of the World Cup, still have a place to watch, to celebrate, to feel the tournament in their city. That decision received less attention than the $50 tickets, but in some ways it matters just as much, because it says the World Cup is here. It belongs to everyone in this city, and the city's job is to make sure nobody is locked out of the experience entirely. Fan Kari Ndiaye, who was at the announcement, captured the feeling of a lot of New York football supporters when she said, "This is something that doesn't happen every year." Everyone is so excited, and just for the mayor to make sure that everyone will be able to attend the games or have watch parties while being safe, that's huge for us. That's what the World Cup is supposed to sound like. That's the version of it that football was built on. Not $38,000 resale tickets and $2.3 million listings. A fan from Senegal in Harlem, excited that her mayor fought for her to have a chance to see the game. So where does this leave us? 20 days from the opening match, the story of FIFA 2026's affordability crisis isn't over. It's not close to over. But something shifted this week. A city drew a line. A mayor picked a fight with the most powerful sports organization in the world and walked away with something real, however small, and the football world noticed. The question going forward is whether this moment represents the beginning of something, cities and fan groups pushing back harder, FIFA making more concessions, the model slowly bending towards something more accessible, or whether it's an exception that proves the rule, a feel-good story that makes one announcement and changes nothing structural. My honest view is that it depends on what the fans in this city and others do next. Pressure works when it's sustained. The $50 tickets exist because Mamdani campaigned on this for over a year, from when he was a candidate all the way through to his first month in office. That's what sustained pressure looks like. What do you think? Was Mamdani's announcement a genuine win for fans, or is 1,000 tickets in a city of 8 million just good politics with a good photo opportunity? And if you're entering that lottery, if you're a New Yorker trying your luck on May 25th, tell me in the comments which match you're hoping to get. That's the conversation this channel is built for. Hit like if this story gave you something to think about. Subscribe if you want to follow FIFA 2026 all the way through to July 19th, because between the Iran situation, the Ebola concern with DR Congo, the England squad bombshell this morning, and stories like this one, this tournament is generating more off-pitch drama than any World Cup in living memory. 20 days. The football is almost here. This story is still developing, and as always, football never stays quiet for long. See you in the next one.